Good evening, everyone. Julie here. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. We've been talking a lot just lately about human trafficking. As many of you know, if you follow my channel any at all, I am a guardian ad litem volunteer in the state of Florida. And what I do is, visit children who are in foster care or out of home care. They might be with their families, with their relatives instead of their parents or whatever. They could be with foster parents, so they could be in a group home, they could be anywhere. But as many of you know, there's been a lot of hoopla about just lately about the movie Sound of Freedom. So it's an awesome movie. If you have not been able to see it, I highly recommend that you go see it. But it's talking about human trafficking, and there is so much about human trafficking that people don't even realize. It's a $150 billion a year industry. People are making money off of it. There are all kinds of rumors going around. I've heard some horrible things, but this movie is reality, folks. This stuff really happens. I can tell you, I've worked in child advocacy for over 10 years, and it's an honest to goodness true thing that happens. So, I wanted to share something with you. This information that I'm getting tonight, I've done different things with different seminars that I've taken, all different kinds of things that I've learned over the years to start sharing videos. This information I got off the Blue campaign, which is put on by the Department of Homeland Security. So this information you can all find all this information on the Blue campaign website. All you got to do is go in Google and type the Blue campaign, and it will pull up all the information. But one of the things I'm going to be sharing tonight is indicators of human trafficking. And something of how you can do to help, which I'll list some different scenarios and or not necessarily scenarios. I'm going to tell you a little bit and tell you where you can go on the Blue campaign site to find out what you can do to help. The biggest thing you can do is be aware. Okay, that's the biggest thing that you can do to help save the children. Remember, like they said in the movie, our children are not for sale. Our children are our most precious things we have, and we have to stand firm, folks. We have to put an end to this human trafficking. So I'm going to start out with the indicators of human trafficking. So these are things that you can look for. Does the person appear to be disconnected from family, friends, community, or organizations or houses of worship? Are they just disconnected? They're not really there. Has a child stopped attending school? There's so many things I could go to over children not attending school. It can be because they're being trafficked. It can be because they're being abused. Their parents could keep them home to keep people from spotting the bruises and stuff like that. But a big thing that is happening now is that children are bringing other children that are being trafficked, or bringing other children into trafficking that they're bringing from school. So you have to always be aware. Has the children had a high amount of absences? Have they been changed their appearance? Have they all of a sudden they come from having no money to have money, where no one can figure out how they're getting these things that they're getting? Because these traffickers, they will buy them things. That's how they suck them in. They give them stuff that they want and everything. The attention, the love, the things that they want. And then they get them stuck in the system, because then they blackmail them or coerce them or force them into the human trafficking. So that's something that you can do. Has the person had a sudden or dramatic change in behavior? It could be somebody, like, say you're in a school or something. It could be somebody that had good grades, was always showing up for school, and all of a sudden their grades are down, and they had a total personality change. This can also, these are signs of human trafficking. Some of them can also be a sign of child abuse. So be aware of that too, okay? Because our children are precious. We don't want them abused and we don't want them trafficked. So that's that, you know. And some of these I can see the parallel where it can mean a multitude of things. It's a juvenile engaged in commercial sex acts. You know, I mean, sometimes it's blatantly obvious. So, you know, it a lot of people think it's teens, they're just being promiscuous, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes that they're forced into that or coerced into that, and it's not something that they really want. So we need to make sure, you know, to keep an eye on children and know what's going on. And just because it's not your child, it could be your niece, it could be your nephew, it could be your neighbor. You want to keep an eye on those children. Is the person disoriented or confused or showing signs of mental or physical abuse? You know, a lot of these children are basically brainwashed when they're trafficked. I mean, they try to make them feel like they're part of a family, and they pick on the kids that have no self-esteem. You'll see if the traffickers are out scanning stores or malls, they're not going to be looking for the kid that's all out. They're going to be looking for the kid that's looking down. They're going to be looking for the kid that they know they can control. You know, so, you know, be aware of those kind of things. Does the person have bruises in various stages of healing? You know, again, this is something that could be a sign of child abuse, but many people that are in the game, and that's what they call a lot of the people that are in trafficking, they call it the game. They are beaten. If they don't make their quota, they're severely beaten. They have numbers they have to meet, and they have to give all their money to the Johns, and the John supplies them with a place to live, and always drugs. That's how they keep them going. That's how they keep them under their control, is the drugs that they give them. Is the person fearful, timid, or submissive? Because, you know, that's how they're coerced. They are brought down to nothing, where they're fearful and they're submissive. They have to do what they're supposed to do, or they're going to get beaten or killed, and they know that. So they're very submissive. Does the person show signs of having been denied food, water, sleep, or medical care? And that is all happens in the trafficking world. You know, if they're not allowed to sleep until they meet their quota. They're denied medical care. Most of you know, they don't get taken there when they're severely beaten, unless it's something where they're almost dead. And a lot of people, you know, after so many years of trafficking, they just die. They've abused the drugs. It's just a hard life. And, you know, if they're in for too long, it's just a horrible ending for them. Is the person often in the company of someone who he or she defers to? You know, someone that's answering all their questions for them, or someone who seems to be control of the situations. You know, they go, the kid goes to where they tell them to go and does what they do what they're told to do by that person that isn't their parent. Although sometimes they make themselves look like they're the parent and they're not. Does the person appear to be coached on what to say? Because that's how they're trained. They know exactly what to say. They're told what to tell to the cops and to tell everybody. You know, you can't do this, you can do that. You can't do this, you can do that. It's crazy. Is the person living in unsuitable conditions? Because, and there's two different forms. There's really two different forms, because I see some of them that live in squalor. And then there's the kind in these high ends, especially like the ones in Vegas. If you've never heard of Rebecca Bender, look her up on Google. She lived the life. She played the game for many years, and her story is amazing. And they were making money, huge money, and, you know, they're made to think that this person loves them. So, you know, I mean, and there was a lot of money in this, and they lived in these big fancy houses and everything. But that doesn't happen for everybody, but that's the lifestyle they were living there. You know, some pimps, you know, they still got beaten everything, and they got beaten down, and they couldn't leave the life. But they were living in way better conditions than some girls and boys are. Does the person lack personal possessions and appear not to have a stable living situation? And everything they have belongs to the family. Okay, it's not just theirs. They have nothing that's really theirs. The money that they make, everything, it goes to the pimp. So or Romeo, or whatever you want to call him. Does the person have freedom of movement? Can the person freely leave where they live? Are there unreasonable security measures? They'll say, "Oh, sorry, I can't do that." And it's just something. These are just some of the indicators. And not all these indicators that I've just spoke about are present in every human trafficking situation, and the presence or absence of any indicators of the indicators that I've shared is not necessarily proof of human trafficking. To report suspected human trafficking to federal law enforcement, you can call 1-866-347-2423. And again, to report suspected human trafficking, the federal law enforcement number to call is 1-866-347-2423. To get help, if you know somebody who needs help, then the number for the National Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-888-373-7888. Again, the number for the National Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-888-373-7888. So those are some numbers to help you, to help someone if you come across somebody in that kind of situation. I can tell you that we actually, because we live right by an interstate, we had somebody stop at a house, knock on the door. It was a girl, and she said that she was being trafficked. Of course, we called law enforcement. We never know what happened with that case. They took her away in an ambulance. She was really beaten up, drugged up. She could have just been somebody on a high that made all that up. I never know what happened because, they don't report that back to me. But all I can say is that we called the cops, and hopefully that person got help. But I was kind of scared because there was a truck going back and forth, and I was afraid they were looking for that person. So it can happen. It can happen. And she said that they kept her drugged up and had her do that. So, but therein she was drugged up. So I don't know if she was actually telling the truth or not. So we called law enforcement. We didn't know what to do. She wanted us to let her use the phone, which we did, to call a relative that she was trying to get help from. So, but see, it can happen. It can happen anywhere. Now, how can you help? You're asking, how can I help? Human traffickers use various forms of force, fraud, and coercion to control and exploit victims, including their imposing a debt. So say that the pimp, Romeo, whatever you want to call him, is giving somebody a place to live. He's going to tell them, I pay for this mortgage. You're going to go out and do this trick. You're going to go out and make us money because that's your job, since I'm paying all the bills. Of course, she's the one that's giving him all the money that she's making, but he supplies this. He supplies anything that they have. He holds that over their head. Fraudulent employment opportunities. There's many times, and a lot of the way these kids get in, never, ever, ever. If you have your teenager comes and says, oh, I got this person came, saw me, stopped me, they have a modeling agency and they want me to come, don't do it. And if you do it, you go with them and you do not leave them alone with anybody. You're going to be in the room. I suggest you not do it at all unless it's a legit place. If you watch the Sound of Freedom movie, that's how the movie starts out, with a little girl and a little boy, and they tell the dad, which they're young children, they're like very young children, they're not even teenagers, and they said to come back to 7, and there was a bunch of children in the room because they took all these children. So, and they used somebody that was a beauty pageant lady to do that. So just know that there were tricks. They will trick you. They will say, oh, you got to leave your kid. You can't go in there with them. This is something we have to do with them. Don't do it, folks. Don't do it. False promises of love or a better life. And I can tell you from my experience, foster kids are at the highest percentage of children trafficked because they get these false promises. of love. They're their family. They're going to make themselves become their family. They're going to show them a better life. That's how they lure them in. And everything's great at first. They are part of a family. They're getting all this love and affection and everything. And once they get them hooked in, then the fraud and coercion starts, and they're stuck and they can't get out. Psychological coercion. You know, there's been cases where they say, okay, if you tell anybody, I'll kill your sister, I'll kill your mom, they are coerced, or I'll tell your parents and they'll be upset. So these are the kind of ways that they kind of get them in. And the violence of threats, you know, that's how the psychological coercion, the violence of threats, you know, they threaten them. Or I'll kill you, or I'll kill your family, or, you know, I'll kill your sister, I'll get your sister and I'll bring her, you know. So if you want your sister to stay safe, these are the kinds of things that they do to get these young adults or young children. And listen, they start tracking them at 12 years old. But there's cases that are younger than that. There are babies that are trafficked, y'all, babies. And, you know, we have your sex trafficking and we have your labor trafficking. A lot of people are brought into this country and they're forced into working for people, you know, and it can be anything from being a nanny, it can be working in massage parlors, it can be so many different things. So you know, it's just crazy, and it's out there, it's all over the place, y'all. And the USA is the #1 consumer of this stuff, and that's sad and scary. $150 billion industry. Nobody wants this coming out. This is why there's so much controversy over the movie. This is why they're trying to keep the hush hush on this. They don't want anybody to know. But it's really heaven. So causing someone under the age of 18 to engage in a commercial sex acts, regardless of using force, fraud, or coercion, is also human trafficking under the law. So anybody under the age of 18, they can't consent. So therefore, if someone's caught in that, then they are trafficking. So the crime of human trafficking hinges on the exploitation of another person. People often falsely believe human trafficking implies victims must be moved from one place to another. It's not true. That is, you know, they believe that they have to just be moved from place to place to be a victim, and that's not. Human trafficking does not require transportation to be considered a crime. It is a crime that can be committed against an individual who has never left his or her own hometown. There are families that traffic their children. It's sad, and it happens. But you can help play a role in ending human trafficking by learning key indicators, which I told you about earlier. I told you some of the indicators you know, of human trafficking, raising awareness of human trafficking within your community, your industry. The only way we're going to be able to fight this, y'all, is if everybody becomes educated and everybody learns, and report suspected human trafficking incidents. You could call the police and say, hey, I don't know, but something's strange here. Can you check it out? You know, I mean, it doesn't mean you're perfectly right, but, you know, individuals working in particular industries or with specific audiences may be more likely to observe human trafficking by the nature of their day-to-day duties or surroundings. The Blue Campaign has resources for the following groups: law enforcement, convenience retail industry professionals, transportation industry professionals, hospitality industry professionals, youth caretakers and professionals, student leaders, and faith-based community leaders. There's this whole toolkit that you can get for these different things, and you can learn, take the toolkits, have a class, invite your friends. That's how you learn. And study, guys, study. We have to stop this. Our children are suffering. Our children are hurting. And it's just not right, y'all. We have to do something, because this is a horrible, horrible thing that's happening to these children. Can you imagine? Can you just imagine? I just can't even. I mean, it's so sad, the stories. I have a group on Facebook called Hope for Our Children's Future. I post all kinds of stuff on there. child advocacy, human trafficking, and all kinds of stuff. And there are so many heartbreaking stories, y'all. I've seen so many stories, and it is just sad. It's really sad. Not just of human trafficking, of child abuse. And the only way we're going to change this is to stand together. And that's why I've been doing these videos and stuff, because I ask myself, what can I do to make a difference? So I try educating myself. I try sharing. That's why I created a group, you know, where I can put the word out, where maybe somebody will watch this video and learn something. That's my heart. My heart is to help these children. So I thank you so much for watching this video. That's it for tonight. I will be sharing more videos on child advocacy and human trafficking and all that. So please share. If this teaches you something, then please share it with somebody else. Say, hey, look, you know, I watched this video and I wanted to share it with you where you could get some information. Because the only way we're going to fight this is for everybody learning, educating themselves, educating their friends, and knowing what to look for. So until the next video, I hope you have a blessed evening, and thank you so much for tuning in. Have an awesome night, y'all. God bless. Bye-bye.